In 1936, the world's last known Tasmanian tiger died in a concrete cage, officially ending a species older than the island itself. But ever since, thousands claim it survives, hiding in the wild, leaving behind baffling evidence and unanswered questions. If we've been wrong about its extinction, it's not just a scientific error, it's a profound challenge to how we decide what is truly lost. So what exactly was the Tasmanian tiger, and could this legendary predator still be out there? The animal known as the Tasmanian tiger was never a tiger at all. Thylacine cynocephalus, meaning dog-headed pouched one, was a marsupial predator, more kin to kangaroos and wombats than to any big cat or wolf. Yet, at first glance, it looked uncannily like a wild dog, a long, lean body stretching up to 130 centimeters, a head shaped like a canine's, and a tail that ran stiff and straight from its spine, thick as a rope and never curling. Its most striking feature, though, was the set of dark, vertical stripes, 15 to 20 bands running from the lower back across the rump and tail base. These stripes gave it the nickname tiger, but its true story lay in the details of its bones and the pouch it used to raise its young. The Thylacine's resemblance to wolves and dogs was the product of convergent evolution. In Australia's ancient forests and grasslands, it filled the role of an apex predator, evolving a body plan and hunting style that mirrored placental carnivores from other continents. Its skull and jaw, broad and powerful, could open to an angle that startled early observers, nearly 80 degrees, wide enough to swallow prey whole. But inside, its anatomy told a different story. Marsupial bones, a backward-facing pouch, and a reproductive system entirely separate from the world's wolves. Thylacines once ranged across mainland Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea. Fossils and ancient remains show their presence from the continent's north to its southernmost island. On mainland Australia, they vanished thousands of years ago, likely pushed out by climate shifts, human expansion, and the arrival of the dingo. In Tasmania, cut off by rising seas, they survived into the modern era. There, they roamed dry eucalypt forests, coastal heaths, and open woodlands, always favoring dense cover near open ground, where wallabies and small marsupials grazed. The way the thylacine moved set it apart from any dog or fox. In the few surviving film clips from the 1930s, its gait appears almost mechanical, hindquarters sloping, stride deliberate, tail rigid and low. The animal's movement was described as rolling, even awkward, with a stiffness that no local dog could mimic. By day, it sheltered in caves or thick brush, hunting mostly at dusk and dawn. It lived alone or in small family groups, never forming the large packs that wolves are known for. Its habits, its body, and its place in the ecosystem were uniquely its own, an evolutionary echo of predators found nowhere else in the world, and a creature whose physical traits would become the heart of one of the world's longest-running wildlife mysteries. For thousands of years, the Palawa people of Tasmania shared their land with the thylacine. In their oral histories and rock art, the animal was neither monster nor menace, but a wary presence, nocturnal, elusive, and spiritually significant. This uneasy harmony ended with the arrival of European settlers in the early 1800s. Colonial expansion brought sheep and cattle, and with them, a new fear. Stories of tiger attacks on livestock spread quickly, stoked by newspapers and anxious landowners. Yet field studies and later stomach content analyses suggest that sheep killing was rare, more rumor than routine. Still, fear won out over fact. By 1888, the Tasmanian government formalized its position. A bounty of £1 for every adult thylacine and 10 shillings for each juvenile was offered, a meaningful sum for rural families. Treasury ledgers from the era record 2,184 bounty payments over the next 2 decades. The true number killed was likely even higher, as private rewards and unclaimed carcasses went uncounted. For many, the animal became worth more dead than alive. In the press, the thylacine's reputation as a sheep killer hardened into certainty, and economic pressure did the rest. Trappers, farmers, and even children brought in scalps and bodies to claim their reward, while the animal's numbers dwindled year after year. As the population collapsed, thylacines became rare sights outside of museum collections and traveling zoos. By the 1920s, most lived only in remote corners or behind bars. The last known wild thylacine was captured in 1930, snared in the Florentine Valley and sold to Hobart Zoo. There, the animal joined the final captive, an individual later called Benjamin, though even the name is uncertain. On the night of September 7, 1936, this final thylacine died after being locked out of its shelter during a cold snap. Legal protection for the species had arrived only weeks earlier, too late to matter. No one realized at the time that the species had vanished. Despite the absence of proof, the official extinction declaration came decades later. In 1982, the International Union for Conservation of Nature listed the thylacine as extinct. Poor records, vast unexplored wilderness, and the possibility of unreported survivors left a lingering sense of unfinished business. The story of the thylacine's loss is not only about an animal, but about choices driven by fear, policy, and the weight of human hands. In the early 1980s, a government wildlife officer named Hans Narding was conducting a nocturnal survey along a remote forestry track in northwest Tasmania. Around 2 a.m, his spotlight caught an animal just a few meters ahead. For nearly 3 minutes, Narding watched as the creature stood motionless, then moved quietly along the track. He later described a sandy brown animal with a stiff, rod-like tail, a dog-like head, and a series of dark stripes running across the rump and down the base of the tail, features matching the thylacine, not any known dog, fox, or cat. Narding, familiar with every native mammal in the region, filed a formal report with authorities. The Parks and Wildlife Service sent investigator Nick Mooney to the site. No tracks, hairs, or droppings were found, but Mooney would later call the event the most credible thylacine sighting he ever investigated. Photographic evidence offers its own puzzles. Around 1990, near Adamsfield, a photograph surfaced showing what appears to be a freshly dead animal's foot lying among gum leaves. High-resolution analysis by independent researchers found toe and pad structure inconsistent with dogs, cats, devils, or quolls. The morphology, they argued, closely matched museum thylacine specimens. Despite the strong anatomical case, the original film negative and a full chain of custody have never been made public. The image remains a point of debate, convincing to some, unproven to others. Motion film adds another layer to the mystery. In 1973 in Western Australia, a home movie captured a striped dog-like animal trotting across an open tip site. Frame-by-frame study of the so-called Doyle film sparked years of analysis. Some experts pointed to leg proportions, tail carriage, and gait as thylacine-like. Others countered that the low-resolution, motion blur and distance made it impossible to rule out a fox or injured dog. No feature in the footage rises above doubt. Each piece of evidence, whether a close encounter, a grainy photograph, or a flickering reel of film, invites scrutiny but withholds certainty. The search for proof would soon move from human senses and analog film to new tools and technologies as the question of survival refused to fade. In the last 2 decades, the search for the Tasmanian tiger has left campfires and old trap lines behind, moving into a world of sensors, algorithms, and data. Modern field teams have blanketed Tasmania's wildest corners with trail cameras, over 200,000 images captured, scanning for the telltale stripes or rigid tail that would stand apart from wallabies and foxes. Drones have flown more than 1,500 square kilometers, mapping forests and river valleys where human feet rarely tread. Every year, new expeditions deploy environmental DNA kits, drawing water from remote creeks and filtering for fragments of thylacine genetic code. Not a single confirmed trace has surfaced. Archivists like Mark Collins have cataloged decades of search records, while biologists run population models that show how a handful of survivors, perhaps fewer than 5, could slip through the cracks unseen and unproven. Yet the ODDS shrink with every year of silence. Each camera that clicks and every eDNA sample that comes up empty adds weight to the absence, but never quite closes the door. Scientists explain that the terrain itself is part of the problem. The southwest wilderness is a labyrinth of rainforest, cliffs, and mist, where even large animals vanish for months at a time. The thylacine's shadow has become more than a zoological puzzle. It's a symbol, etched into Tasmanian identity and national memory. Sports teams wear its stripes. Its image stares from museum walls and postage stamps. For some, the search is a way to rewrite history, to undo the guilt of extinction. For others, it's a lesson in humility, proof that the wild still holds secrets and that some questions may never be answered. The technology grows sharper, the images clearer, but the mystery endures, hovering between hope and evidence, science and longing. Today, the Thylacine's shadow lingers not just in remote forests, but in every debate over extinction and what we're willing to lose. If proof emerges, it could force a global rethink of what lost forever truly means. Until then, hope and doubt walk the wilds together. Share your thoughts below.